In my mind, neutral is like you do you, boo. I think they look very ugly. Plant influencers give bad plant advice. We just need to move past this weird stigma we have. Chill, you guys, chill. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Anna with Plants. My name is Anastasia, and thank you for joining me for today's video. We are going to be doing something totally off the books. I have wanted to do this, I guess, game for a while. I originally got this idea when I was taking a survey, and it's, those agree to disagree surveys. And I thought about what if I turned that into a conversation starter game. And so this is essentially what it is. This is not just me up here sharing my opinions. This is intended to be a dialogue starter. I think we have a really good community here, and I really value your guys' opinions. The name of the game, by the way, is In My Humble Opinion, because I don't want anyone to forget that that's all it is at the end of the day. It's just a little bit of fun. It is not meant to be taken too seriously, even though I will be marking down my responses on this whiteboard right here. I also want you guys to comment down below what you think of these topics as well. Like the surveys, it is going to range from neutral, agree, strongly agree, and then on the other hand it's going to be strongly disagree and disagree. So depending on how strongly I feel or you feel about these certain topics, we are going to be moving the magnets around, and that is how the game works. So really, this is a two-way street. Please feel free to voice off in the comments below, and also tell me if you like this concept idea, and if you do, then please leave some more suggestions for maybe the next time we do this. Again, have no idea how it's going to go. So I have 3 categories for you today. It's going to be on plant products, plant trends, and touchy subjects or spicy topics. Yeah, let's just get started. Oh, by the way, I'm talking a little bit more softly because I have my podcast mic in front of me. I just noticed my voice is way too loud to be speaking full volume with it this close, so that's why I'm speaking a little bit more softly. Anyway, let's get to the first topic at hand, which is going to be products. By the way, I totally need like an easel or like a stand for this, so unfortunately I'm just gonna have to be holding this for the remainder of the video. So first product we have is silica. Hopefully you guys can see that all right. Silica is a little bit of a controversial product because some people really don't like it. Other people do use it and like it in their nutrient water routine. I've personally been using silica for almost 2 years now. It's been a while, and I originally started out with potassium silicate. That is the cheaper version, the more common version of silica out there, and it's not the most bioavailable version for the plant. If you want to increase the uptake of silica, I recommend monosilicic acid. It just happens to save a step in the conversion. Originally, it became popular because people said it prevented Monstera alba leaves from browning, and I don't know if that's really been proven or not, but it's just supposed to fortify the cell walls of the plant, and it can also increase your plant's resistance to stress and pests and whatnot. I do like silica, and I personally haven't had any negative effects of it. If you don't correctly pH balance it, then you can experience nutrient lockout. However, I do pH balance, and I've never had that problem before, so I will move this over to the agree tab over here for silica. Moving on to the next product, we have blurple lights. I'm pretty sure everyone knows what blurple lights are. They are the bluey purple grow lights. A lot of people use it in grow tents. Blurple lights are also used in commercial growing as well, in like very big greenhouses and warehouses and whatnot. Apparently, it's supposed to help your plant grow a little bit faster than compared to normal colored plant lights. I am going to say that I strongly disagree with blurple lights. It's just not for me. I know especially a lot of anthurium growers really like blurple lights. There's a lot of photos of plants taken under these lights because it makes your plant look darker. I think that personally that they are an eyesore and I could never see myself having them in my home especially, but I wouldn't even put them in my grow tent because again, to me they're just personally an eyesore. Also, I think it can distort the appearance of your plants a lot, so I would just maybe take that into consideration if you're only using blurple lights to sell plants. I am more of an advocate for natural lighting when it comes to taking pictures to sell your plants, but again, to each their own. I personally hate them. I think they look very ugly. Next product, fluval stratum. So fluval stratum, and it can also easily be a trend. The products and trends can be interchangeable for some of these things because fluval stratum was definitely trendy. I want to say like maybe a year or so ago. It is a substrate for aquariums. The whole point of it is, I believe it's compressed volcanic soil in these really dark pebbles. And then in an aquarium, it starts to break down into sand. So that's the whole point of it. It also has some nutrients. Yeah, a lot of people swear by it in terms of rooting cuttings and props in it. And it is more of a pricey product as well. Some people think it's totally a gimmick. Other people, like I said, really swear by it. If you were to ask me, I would probably move it to disagree. I wouldn't make it a strongly disagree because I have found that in terms of the speed of rooting, especially with Hoya, it does root them quicker. That's not really my shtick with it. My issue with it is I sometimes take forever to repot props or upsize. This product has like a time on it. If you don't repot it in an appropriate amount of time, the product will start to break down and you'll get a sludge. And depending on the plant, it can actually start to rot the roots because it just turns into a mud basically. And that has definitely happened to me. So for me personally, it's not my go-to substrate for rooting. Yeah, I would just have to disagree. Next product is expensive grow light. For me is a strongly disagree. This is another easy one because you can find some really affordable grow light options like the Barinas or the Monios lights. There's so many brands out there now that do grow lights that are quite affordable and they work really well. I do suggest doing your due diligence and research when it comes to super cheap grow lights because depending on the electrical quality of it, I know some people in the comments say that they started a fire near the outlet. So again, do your due diligence and I would stick to probably the more common brands like Monios, Sansi, Barina, but you don't need to be splashing out hundreds and hundreds of dollars on grow lights. The Soltech ones, which are pretty expensive, are really nice because of their color temperature. So I guess if you have like a certain project in mind, that wouldn't be too bad. But for everyday growing, you don't need to fill your whole house with expensive grow lights for your plants to do well. Strongly disagree needing expensive grow lights in this hobby. And then the next topic is mycorrhizae. Mycorrhizae, in case you don't know, is a fungus. There are a lot of different strains of mycorrhizae, and it basically forms a relationship with your root system that creates a lot of good exchange, disease resistance, increased nutrient absorption, increased root mass, all of those kinds of things. And there are lots of articles out there on myco in terms of just tomato plants, those kinds of garden plants where putting some myco in the soil has helped the health and the quality of the roots. I myself have not really done any experimentation, so it's just from my observations. I have seen the myco in my soil before, especially when the soil is pretty damp, you might be able to see it more often. I wouldn't say it's like a gimmick or anything. I don't think I've really heard anyone completely disagree with myco or say like it really harmed their plant. I definitely haven't had that experience. So I'm gonna go with agree. I wouldn't say it's a game changer. You have to have it in your routine with a strongly agree, but I do think that it is a really easy addition to your routine, a little bit of extra insurance for your root system. Myco, I would agree. We have moss poles first up as a trend, and it can be a product too, so it's really interchangeable with the first topic at hand. But hold on, let me move this a little bit. I will say that I am not a proponent of moss poles. If you've watched a few of my videos on my channel, I don't really do a lot of moss poles because I can't be held accountable for that kind of consistency. To really see the benefit of moss poles, you do have to be consistent with it, and I am not. So for that reason, I will have to say disagree. But let me tell you why it's not a strongly disagree, because I still do have a couple moss poles, and I will say that I think all of us who have kept a moss pole well enough will see a good upsizing of your leaves. The plant will also mature faster on a moss pole, but I don't think that you definitely need one 100%. There are wood planks, stakes that you can use, other supports out there that are a lot easier for maintenance. By all means, if you have the time, sure, they can be really great, but I think the trend of the moss poles has kind of come to a conclusion, and a lot of people that were really into it have kind of taken a step back from it. I'm sure that they'll come back around because that's how trends go, but for now, I think I will always be a disagree. So let's move on to the next trend. We have semi-hydroponics. Semi-hydroponics is a literal godsend for just keeping your sanity in the plant hobby if you have a lot of plants, because it saves you from watering a lot and it will keep plants happy that otherwise would not be happy if they hate drying out. A perfect example of this actually is right behind me. So I do get some questions about this fern. This is a variegated Boston fern. I think they're also called tiger ferns. I remember I got this fern and I just kept it in a soil mix. Of course, it dried out because I am an inconsistent waterer. It just looked so sad. Changed it into semi-hydro, and it was just pon I used in there. And it just did so well. Like, its glow up was insane. So that is a classic example of making life so much easier on yourself. I don't think all plants need to be. It's just a really easy thing that you can incorporate into your routine that will save you a lot of time and make your plants happier if you get it right with them. Again, it's a lot of experimentation on what substrate you want to use with it and everything. So if you haven't tried it, or if you're kind of intimidated by it, I do have a video that I made over a year ago now that I will link above. It is one of the videos that still perform well even to this day and still bringing people to my channel. I really kind of want to do a part 2 to that. So if you're interested, let me know if you want a part 2 to that video. I would totally be up for filming that. So semi-hydroponics, if you haven't guessed by now, is a strongly agree. This is my first strongly agree. I don't think it can work for everyone, but people that do try it and that can get it to work really see the benefits of it. So that's semi-hydro. Moving on to the next trend, which is collection downsizing. Downsizing collections, I feel like we're kind of all on the same journey, because now you'll see a lot of collection downsizing videos because a lot of people got into the plant hobby during the pandemic. I actually didn't get into plants during the pandemic. I got into plants, I think like 2021. So it was definitely the tail end of things when things were starting to return back to normal. But I collected plants at a pretty good speed that I kept up pace with everyone that entered in the hobby before me. We all entered and then collected and then kind of did like a plateau and then maybe burnt out. And then now we're all downsizing. We're all more or less on the same page here. I don't think that there's anything wrong with prioritizing your life and just balance and mental health, especially with your hobby. If any hobby gets to be too overwhelming, you should have the autonomy to change that. And a lot of the time, that means to take a step back and to downsize. And so I have noticed that downsizing collection videos sometimes garners a little bit more negative comments. I think people get quite touchy when it comes to throwing away plants or, composting plants that are still green, that look still alive. But obviously, it would be better to sell that plant, to give it away to somebody. Sometimes people are just taken to a place where they are at their wits' end and they don't have that luxury or time and they just need to get rid of it. And I think all the power to them. We just need to move past this weird stigma we have when it comes to this idea that you need to sacrifice your well being to keep each and every plant that you've ever bought. I think it's just a little bit silly, in my opinion. So, with that, I will say I do agree. If it is your time to downsize your collection, then you do it. All right. Next trend we're going to talk about is anthurium breeding overload. Here we go. A lot of people say that anthuriums are a trend. I guess we will see if we reach the conclusion of that trend. I don't really have a crystal ball. In terms of now, we're getting into the era of everyone is breeding their plants, and there's an overabundance of seedlings being sold and just all these crosses. Initially, it was very well received and people were super excited. And then now we're kind of getting to the stage of the trend where people are a bit tired of it and it's overwhelming. And I do see both sides of that coin now with breeding, as opposed to just putting pollen on anything or everything. People are being a lot more intentional with their breeding and really trying to make crosses that make them excited, not just for the fact of doing it. I do agree with that more so. In my mind, neutral is like, you do you, boo. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. I know some people will strongly disagree and then some people will agree, but for me, I'm totally neutral on the subject, because even though there might be a lot of anthurium seedlings out there or seeds or what have you, it is totally your choice to do with your money what you want. I think that's something that people often overlook. It's always your choice to watch something. It's always your choice to invest your time or energy or money into something. And so if you just don't agree with it, then don't do it. Seems pretty self-explanatory, but sometimes I feel like people forget, especially on the internet. So totally neutral on that subject. And now, is it the last trend? Oh, yes. The last trend we have is variegated plants. And I do have quite a few variegated plants in my collection. I do like variegation on plants. I think a lot of the times. Oh, chill, you guys, chill. Sorry, my dogs were randomly barking at something. Okay, where were we? Oh, yes, variegated plants. There are some really beautiful variegated plants that are just so stunning to look at. And then there are other plants where I kind of ask myself, does every plant need to be variegated? And I think the answer to that is no, it doesn't. I think we lost a little magnet here. I don't know what happened to it. Let me just add a magnet here. Not sure what happened. I'm gonna go with agree on variegated plants. over here, just because I mean, I have too many in my collection to pretend that I don't like them because I do like them. I'm not a strongly agree proponent of it just because it's not needed to make a plant pretty. And honestly, sometimes variegation, especially when it comes to phylos or even hoya and across a lot of genera, can be unstable. And obviously, the variegated version of a plant is going to be more expensive. So it's really disappointing if you shell out a lot of money and your plant reverts. Trust me, I've been there many a times before, so that's why it'll just never be a strongly agree for me. But I can't ever picture myself not having at least some in my collection, so that's why it's an agree. And now we are moving into spicy topics. I tried to draw a pepper. Does that look like a pepper? I don't know. Don't judge my artistic skills. Okay. The first spicy topic or touchy subject that we're going to talk about is heavily edited plant photos. Oh my lord. Let's talk about it. I do edit my plant photos, but I will go ahead and insert a picture for example here, what I'm talking about. Especially, I find that sometimes the exposure is a bit too high on my phone and the plants get kind of blown out. So the plant in person is not what you really see in the photo. So I will minimally tweak things to make it look more realistic. I think the part, my arm is starting to fall asleep. Okay, I think the part that really gets me though with the heavily edited photos are the ones where they are trying to sell a plant. So this is a photo of the plant that they want you to buy, and you can tell that they edited it to infinity. And that is when I take an issue with it. Like, you shouldn't be trying to up the saturation to make the plant look more pink or to decrease the exposure to make it look more dark, especially for anthurium. I just think if you're selling plants, you should do your best to try to make it as it appears in real life. So I really don't like heavily edited photos for plant sales. However, if you're just taking a picture of your plant to post on Instagram or your story, whatever have you, then that's kind of like your artistic interpretation of it. I don't think I or anyone else should have any power over how you choose to artistically display your plant. I will say that if you take it too far, I think a lot of people can clock that nowadays. So just do it tastefully. Other than that, I really only have the issue when it comes to you trying to pass off a plant that doesn't look like the photo. That's when I don't really agree with it. So for that one, like, it depends. Again, it depends on the situation. Just because I'm gonna go with what I wrote, which is heavily edited, and I don't have an issue with minor edits. But heavily edited photos, I will say that I disagree with that. I will move it to the disagree when it's heavily edited. All right, next topic at hand is one more plant ideology. So what I mean about this is, and you basically see it anywhere there are t-shirts and mugs and stickers and so much merch around. It's not hoarding if it's plants, to that effect. And I don't want to be too serious about it because it is just in jest. It is a joke. I get the joke. But I do think there is a very real thing about plant hoarding. And I made a whole video about plant addiction. I think it needs to be talked about more often, that too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. And although that buying or having too many plants isn't the worst thing you can do to yourself, it's also can get quite toxic. This positive spin on it, or this comical spin that people take where they literally don't have the money to pay for a plant now. They are holding a plant until their next paycheck because they have to have it now. That is like an area where it can be okay, but it's a slippery slope. I disagree with that as well, especially with plants being always connected to, oh, well, plants improve your mental health. Yes, to a degree. People can overshoot that without even realizing. And just to be more self aware, being more self aware of when you went too far in this hobby. And that line is going to be different for everyone. That's just my 2 cents on it. Let's go on to the last topic we're going to talk about. This one got kind of erased a little bit, but it says you need some kind of formal education or degree to be a plant fluencer. And I put that in quotations because I hate that word. And I've heard this so often. Oh, all of these plant influencers or plant tubers or wherever have you, plant people that have a platform, they're not botanists, they don't have a horticultural degree, they don't even own a plant business. They should not basically be giving out plant advice. I've also heard that plant influencers give bad plant advice and stuff. My opinion is unique because I kind of fall under that category a bit because I do have this channel. I do have to watch what I say and do disclaimers, but I don't think that in order to start a plant channel or give plant advice that you need any kind of formal expertise or training. I think people who say that are just kind of off base a little bit, especially when it comes to YouTube. YouTube is founded on basically anybody can upload themselves on here to speak on their journey. And I think that's beautiful that you can literally learn new things that you haven't thought of if you are open to it from a person that is brand new to the hobby compared to a person that's been doing it for decades. And just because you have a degree doesn't mean that you are immune to bad advice. These get degrees. Everything with a grain of salt, and all advice should be given in context. So the only thing that I can think of why people would say plant influencers give bad plant advice, or they don't know what they're saying, or they aren't experts in plants, I can really only assume that maybe they had a really bad experience with some advice that they took and it harmed their collection or a plant or something. But again, that's just part of the game, you know? It's part of the hobby to hear about something, try it, and then sometimes it just doesn't work out. So I don't go ahead and blame that person who told me. I think it's just all trial and error in this hobby. I don't know, just don't take it too seriously. In case it's not already clear, I strongly disagree with this sentiment. I'm gonna put this down because my arm is about to fall off. Totally don't agree with that. I think that no matter what phase you're in the plant hobby, if it's your job, if it's not your job, and just a passion project on the side, that you have the right to upload a video on YouTube or start a plant Instagram or post on plant communities. We're all here to learn, and the more people that feel comfortable contributing to this community, I think the better for it. And to just be open to learning from people, no matter what their age is, no matter what their profession is, or even their experience. To kind of draw it out to a bigger life picture, it's like you can clearly see the difference between people who are older in the later part of their lives that you can tell are like super closed off. They don't want to change their opinions. They are very set on this is what I think. And so therefore, I'm not even going to be open to hearing anybody else's opinion versus those older people that are always open to hearing, especially from younger people. The latter part of that is really beautiful, that you can be a lifetime learner, not reach a point where you're like, yeah, this is enough. I will no longer improve. I will no longer learn anything new. I have learned everything there is to know about this life, and I'm just going to stop here. I just think that's kind of silly. And that can be applied to the plant hobby. Somebody that is newer to the hobby than you are might have a new perspective. And if you are just open to their opinion, maybe it can create some good dialogue. That's honestly the whole purpose of this video, is to just have a really good conversation. The plant community can at times be a bit contentious, but in the end, I think we all are open to learning and to improving and watching our plants grow bigger and healthier. And yeah, the more that we keep in communication, the more that we're open-minded, it can only just push us further. I'm gonna get off my soapbox now, and I want to hear your opinion. I've been blabbering enough. Please let me know what you thought about this concept, if you like it, if you don't like it, if I should tweak some things, and if you have suggestions for the next time around on things that that we can talk about, please leave it down below. One of the best things about having this channel is to talk to you guys and to hear what you have to say. So with that, I hope you have a lovely day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.